This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences of the individual. Results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We are honored to continue to share the teachings of a founding father of the science of epigenetics, Dr. Joel Wallach, Bachelor of Science in Plant and Soil Sciences, Doctor of Veterinary Medicine, 4 postdoctorates in pathology, naturopathic doctor. This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences of the individual. Results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We are honored to continue to share the teachings of a founding father of the science of epigenetics, Dr. Joel Wallach, Bachelor of Science in Plant and Soil Sciences, Doctor of Veterinary Medicine, 4 postdoctorates in pathology, naturopathic doctor.
Let's do it.
Hello and welcome, everyone. Let's go ahead and open up that Zoom room door and let everybody in. My name is Ruth Ellen Sanchez. I am going to be your hostess today for Daily with Doc and Becca, which is sponsored by dailywithdoc.com. And this program is for educational purposes only and not meant to treat, diagnose, or cure any diseases. And it's not meant to take the place of your primary care physician. Also, any testimonials given will be experiences of the person giving the testimonial. And I think I covered it all. And today we are excited to have Pharmacist Ben Fuchs. And he is a highly experienced registered pharmacist with over 40 years of practice. Ben holds a BA in broadcast journalism and from Syracuse University and a Bachelor of Science in Pharmacy from the University of Colorado. He's also a compound pharmacist, and he specializes in creating custom medications, particularly for the skin health. He also is an expert in formulating nutritional products and has spent years consulting with doctors and patients to optimize their health. Ben is very passionate about using natural approaches for health. He believes in the body's inherent ability to heal and regenerate itself. By providing it with the right nutrients, we can optimize our health and well-being. And I think that God created some amazing things. Our bodies can heal themselves. And I'm just always in awe of our body's ability to do that. So I'm going to bring on Ben, who is amazing. And we've got a really good topic today. Are you excited about these Rolling Stones and the Metabolic Syndrome, Ben?
Rolling Stones, I don't know what that means, but check this out. The dose makes the medicine.
Yes.
Don't ever forget that. Dose makes the medicine. Gotta have enough of the good stuff. So we're, Ruth Ellen, I guess or under ordinary circumstances, Becca would be throwing stuff at me, but I'll just take it away unless you have questions.
I do have questions, but we
Yes.
did have a topic if you wanted to do the topic, or we could go right to questions.
Yeah. Well, if you have something, I like talking about metabolic syndrome. I sent AJ something during the week, as I do typically. I think AJ was on metabolic syndrome and cancer, I think it was.
I don't know. I did send you the topic on your cell phone.
Yeah. So let's talk about metabolic syndrome.
Okay.
I used to call it used to be called Syndrome X before then, at first. Then it was called insulin resistance. Now we call it metabolic syndrome. The word syndrome refers to many, many symptoms that come from one cause. Metabolic syndrome involves a lot of different things. Basically, metabolic syndrome is not really one disease. It's a cluster of metabolic abnormalities. These kinds of abnormalities occur together most commonly, and they include things like obesity, insulin resistance, high blood pressure, changes in blood fats, and atherogenesis, that is blockages, atherosclerosis, heart attacks, strokes, vascular disease, type 2 diabetes, most especially. Where do you hear about all these things? That's all the stuff we suffer from, and throw cancer into the mix too. Pretty much everything we deal with from a chronic degenerative disease crisis has this constellation of symptoms associated with metabolic syndrome behind it. I call it the second point on the triangle of disease. And I want to be very clear here. There's no chronic degenerative disease that occurs without metabolic syndrome underneath. And by the way, without digestive issues underneath. This is where I came up with the triangle concept, which has now been truncated to the plane concept or the line concept, because the third element just complicates things, the adrenal thyroid link. So you get diagnosed with metabolic syndrome, which, by the way, is a very interesting word, because metabolism is the sum total of chemical reactions in the body. So you might as well say everything syndrome. Metabolic syndrome is everything. It's kind of a crazy name because it's just everything that can go wrong. Everything that could possibly go wrong can go wrong when you have metabolic syndrome. The diagnosis for metabolic syndrome involves technically three of the following criteria. There's weight issues, waist circumference, I should say, cholesterol issues, high blood sugar, blood pressure issues, abdominal fat, changes in blood fats, and increased vascular pressure associated with hypertension. All of those are the core diagnoses for metabolic syndrome. And metabolic syndrome doubles your risks of heart disease and cancer and autoimmune diseases and everything else, which is so cool, because what it means is you can reduce your risk dramatically, maybe even eliminate them by one small move. Now, a small move isn't necessarily easy, but it's simple. And that means reducing your blood sugar and lowering your insulin. And they go together, and unfortunately, we lump the two. They go together, but they're separate issues, and unfortunately, we conflate the two. And when people go to the doctor, they never get their insulin checked. They always get their blood sugar checked, because insulin is almost impossible to check because it always fluctuates, and plus it's in the blood in very small concentrations. So the major feature of metabolic syndrome is insulin resistance. But here's where it gets tricky. Insulin resistance itself and blood sugar issues are linked to the digestive system. And so if you have digestive issues, liver issues, pancreatic issues, most especially intestinal issues and bile issues, you're also at higher risk for metabolic syndrome. And that, like I say, includes everything. And there's no medications that you can do to really address metabolic syndrome above and beyond the symptoms of metabolic syndrome. So for the life of me, I can't figure out why we still have these questions. I can see why it's hard to do, and make no mistake about it, I'm in it. I find it hard to do also. In other words, to control your blood sugar and to eat foods that don't spike your blood sugar, because we're hardwired to do that kind of stuff. But it's not complicated. So if you have a weight problem, metabolic syndrome. If you have a vascular problem, high blood pressure, metabolic syndrome. If you have a cardiovascular problem, metabolic syndrome. If you have a thyroid problem, metabolic syndrome. If you have autoimmune diseases, metabolic syndrome. God forbid cancer, metabolic syndrome. You can't work on cancer and heart disease and hypothyroidism, et cetera, on their own, but you can by working on metabolic syndrome first and the digestive system second. Simple as that, or easy as that, simple as that, although it's not necessarily easy. So if you have questions about anything, I'll answer them, but I'm always going to talk about metabolic syndrome and the digestive system. It's the darn triangle, or now the plane of disease. Okay, does that make sense? You have questions there?
Yes, I have questions.
Yes.
Rebecca sent me a question for you.
Hi, Rebecca.
Yes, hello, Rebecca. I forgot to give her a shout out. So shout out to you, Rebecca. We love you. She has a question. It says, I have a teen boy who's in the bathroom 45 minutes at a time. The medical doctor, give me 1 second, I gotta move this, took x-rays revealing he's holding excess poop in his colon. We did the radical amazing amount of Miralax and X-Lax to get things moving. I have the YGY 90 for life, enzymes, probiotics, etc., even the true to life detox tea that just doesn't seem to make a difference. He still can't seem to go to eliminate in a timely fashion. And then she wants to know what's going on and is there help?
Yeah, of course there is. So here's the thing. She's addressing the stool, but she's not addressing the intestine. All those things, Miralax and X-Lax and fiber and the Mighty 90 and all the things she's just talked about, that addresses the stool. First of all, backtrack a little bit. The kid's constipated, so they have an x-ray and the doctor says, oh, your kid's constipated. This is how idiotic this is just the idiocy of our medical model and of us as patients, because we go to these we participate in it. So what did he tell? What good did he do? He says, I know, there's this comedian, Brian Regan. He says, I went to the doctor and I told him I had a little heartburn. The doctor gave him a list and said, here's all the things that cause heartburn. And Brian Regan says, I know what causes heartburn. What do I do about it? I could get heartburn. I got heartburn, but what do I do about it? It's like you go to these people and they tell you what you got. I don't care. I want to know what I can do about it. But it doesn't matter because we can do it ourselves. So first of all, constipation should always be regarded as a food issue. That's the first thing. And by that, I mean the intestine kind of freezes up in response to certain foods. So food diary is very important. In an emergency, and it could be an emergency when you have really clogged up for a long time, colonics can be helpful. And you know what a colonic is. They put water up there and they wash everything out, okay? So that's kind of like an emergency procedure that you can do. But first of all, from a long-term perspective, you want to focus on the specific foods that the patient's eating. Thirdly, Bob Ross, triangulation, look for other symptoms. These will give you clues on what is happening in the body systemically. Is the kid tired? Does the kid have acne or other skin problems? Does he bloat after certain foods? Does his pulse race after certain foods, or heart race after certain foods? Look for other symptoms. Is there heartburn, etc.? And then map them in a food diary and associate them with foods. Point number 3. So, you could do the colonics if you want. You can look for problem foods if you want. Not if you want. Colonics for emergency. Look for problem foods, do a food diary and associate them with other symptoms so you can triangulate and get a big a picture of what's happening in the body. But here's the main issue that I wanted to bring up. The way food is processed through the digestive tract and then eliminated out of the bowels involves the nervous system and the muscular system. We know that there's a disease caused by a major neural and neural activating vitamin, which AJ loves, called beriberi. I can't. And this is usually associated with an inability to move the body. However, you can have GI beriberi, that is digestive tract beriberi, where under deficiencies of vitamin B1 thiamine, that's the beriberi vitamin, your muscles, the neuromuscular wiring in the intestine slows down. And so anybody out there who's dealing with chronic long-term constipation and can't figure out why, in addition to the food diary, in addition to looking for other symptoms, in addition to colonics, start using high doses of vitamin B1. Beyond Tangy Tangerine is your best friend in that regard. By the way, Ruth Ellen, do you know how to be a good, do you know what vitamin helps you be a good friend?
Which one?
Vitamin B1.
B1. Yes. That's very cute.
Yeah.
And also,
but let me just say one more thing here about chronic constipation. Another thing, and I'm not just talking about this kid. So when I talk about vitamin B1, high doses, when I talk about food diary, when I talk about eliminating problem food diary and eliminating problem foods, when we talk about colonics, in addition, it has to be recognized that the more you eat, the more sluggish your digestive tract will be, especially if you're eating all day long, because the digestive tract slows down when there's food in it, so the body can extract nutrition. So if you're snacking and eating foods all day long, you're gonna the bowel will be less active. It'll be more sluggish than when you fast. So another strategy is to stop eating. Don't eat for a day or 2 days, and that will tend to have a bowel evacuating benefit. So you got colonics, you've got food diaries, you've got eliminating problem foods, you've got vitamin B1, and you've got calorie restriction or fasting, more exactly than calorie restriction. Okay.
About what he's drinking too, because a lot
And
of kids
also
are drinking soda, so dehydration would be
dehydration is another factor as well, and also probiotics if you don't have enough bacteria. So probiotics are another important strategy. I would get on all the digestive support supplements, but I'd want to know what else is going on in his body. I want to know about all these other symptoms, particularly skin symptoms and also digestive symptoms, and also what's going on with the foods. It's unusual for a kid to have these problems. So that tells us a couple things, because this is a sort of degenerative condition. And so usually if you're old or older, it means there's a lot of stuff going on. So it's a lot harder to find exactly what the problem is. But when somebody's a kid, it's much easier because there's not a lot of stuff going on. He hasn't really been breaking down for a long time. So if he does have this problem, the other symptoms are going to be more dramatic. They're not going to be subtle. He's going to notice other symptoms more dramatic. So if it's someone that Rebecca knows, start asking questions. If there's weight problems, you can pretty much rest assured there's metabolic syndrome. And by the way, let me just say one last thing about metabolic syndrome. Metabolic syndrome implies systemic inflammation. Metabolic syndrome is known as insulin resistance syndrome. So the cells stop listening to insulin. And one of the main reasons is because when insulin is constantly high, because you're eating a lot of sugar, you're eating a lot of insulin spiking foods, the cells kind of turn down the dial on the listening. They turn down their hearing aid, their receptors. You can think of like ears. They turn down the receptors. However, inflammation in the blood, which comes from the digestive tract, will also tend towards, will also lead towards insulin resistance. So systemic inflammation is also involved, and that's the digestive tract for metabolic syndrome. So there could be some metabolic syndrome issues for this kid as well. And I'd be looking at that too.
Okay, thank you. And
yes.
AJ, you have your hand up, so I'm going to bring you on.
Two questions, Pharmacist Ben. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you, AJ. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. My two questions are, number one, does this metabolic syndrome also count for eye issues?
AJ, my lips. Everything. Everything from losing the hair on your head to having toenail fungus, head to toe. Everything.
So my glaucoma is partly due to his metabolic syndrome?
Your glaucoma?
No.
Yes, your glaucoma or whoever's glaucoma is not partially due. It's intimately linked. Intimately linked. And I know, I'm teasing you a little bit when you said, does it mean my eye issues? And I know you were probably asking for the listeners, but it's really important because when we say everything, people will say, well, what about my thyroid? Everything. Oh, what about my myasthenia gravis? Everything. What about my retinitis pigmentosa? Everything. And there's a philosophical idea here a historical philosophical idea here that we got to kind of address. Historically, the medical model that is pitted against us. Remember, the institution is always against the individual. Institutions are there for themselves, not for the individual. And they don't move. Individuals have to move fast because they get cancer and their kids get sick and they can go broke and they can lose their house. Institutions don't have that problem. So institutions are very, very slow. They don't move fast at all. And the word "stit" in institution means static. Sit stays the same. So institutions are by definition, there to stay the same. So the institution of medicine has been stagnant philosophically since the days of the Enlightenment, the High Middle Ages, about 500 years ago, 600 years ago. And this medical model that has stayed stagnant for 600 years is based on this reductionistic idea that the body is made up of individual components: the heart, the skin, the liver, the bones, the digestive system, the reproductive system, the nervous system, etc. That's why when you have a skin problem, you go to the dermatologist. You have a heart problem, you go to the cardiologist. You got a brain problem, you go to the neurologist. You got a bone problem, you go to the osteopath, or I forgot what they call the bone doctor. You go to the bone doctor guy. OBGYN for female health issues, the whatever. Think of some other ones. The immunologist if you have immune problems.
Nephrologist.
Nephrologist for kidney problems, etc. That's not how the body works. The body is a system. And it's made up of just a couple of systems. Digestive system, point number one. The metabolic system, point number two, are the main systems. You can throw in the adrenal thyroid system, and that's pretty much it. But there's no metabolic system doctor. There's no digestive system doctor. There's GI doctors, but they don't link it to the system. This is all based on a concept called systems theory. Systems theory is it's how the computer business started, or the science of information processing started in the 1940s. And it posits that systems have their own way of operating. And until we understand that the body is a system made up of interconnecting parts, we're not going to be able to take care of, and we're not going to be able to address things, because when you have a heart problem, it's not a heart problem. It's a systems problem. And that's why cardiology can do nothing for people who have heart problems except mechanically. They can kind of reroute things with a bypass, or they can poison systems with, statin drugs or beta blockers or cardiac or calcium channel blockers. They can kind of shut down symptoms, but they can't address systems. The body's a system. This accounts for the failure. It's not because they're dumb. It's not because they're murderers. It's not because they're evil. It's that they're basing their ideas on an old notion that the body can be treated as a heart and a lung and a spleen and an intestine rather than an entire system. However, you can't go to a doctor for the system. There's no systems doctors. However, the beautiful thing about systems, the body system, is we can do it ourselves. And the classic example to prove this to yourself is to fast. Because when you fast and stop putting things into the body, the system stands down. And now it can do its work without interference. Now, obviously, you have to eat again, so you can't fast forever. But fasting will demonstrate to you visibly how the system takes care of itself. It rebalances itself as soon as there's no more input coming in. As soon as you stop the stream of input, the system will recalibrate. And that's the beauty of the system. We always say the body heals itself. That's what we mean. Homeostatic balancing mechanisms will kick in to readjust and recalibrate the system as soon as input stops. But if you're chronically inputting, the system doesn't have a chance to recalibrate. It's spending its time trying to incorporate what you're putting into the body, what you're putting into the system. What you want to do is you want to stop that input so then the body can recalibrate. And by the way, mentally, this is where something called stillness comes in. The Bible says, be still and know that I am God, right? What that means is, as long as there's noise, you're not going to be able to feel any of the divinity. You're not going to feel any of the spirituality, any of the magic that's in the world, because you're going to be busy incorporating all the stuff that's streaming into your mental system. all the information that's streaming into your mental system. But as soon as you stop, the system will recalibrate, it'll stabilize, and you'll see how divine and how spiritual the world really is. Be still and know that I'm God. From a physical perspective, that means not eating. From a physical perspective, be still, and the body will adjust itself, and it will run as long as you have all your parts, you have all your nutrition, it'll run pristinely on its own. Yes.
Okay, well, you brought up a couple of things that would make me want to ask a further question. I do understand the concept because I've been following you for some time now. But as far as when people have rolling stones in their kidneys,
okay,
in their kidneys or gallbladder, how can we attack them, knowing that it's a system that we need to repair?
How do we attack the rolling stones?
How do we deal with the kidney stones and the liver stone and the gallstones? How do we deal with those?
Okay. How do you deal with them?
As a particular question that prompted the title.
You go back the way you came. You go backwards. You work backwards. How do stones get formed? I mean, you need to. That's why I always ask about That's why I always talk about mechanisms. And that's why anytime somebody asks me about, product or a drug or even a supplement, I want to talk about the mechanism, how it works. The mechanism is the key. Mechanisms is an engineering idea. And that's really the way you want to look at the body, as an engineered system. And the best place to go for advice about how the body works is an engineer, a biological engineer, if you will, or a biochemist, not a doctor. A doctor is not the best place to go because a doctor just wants to get you symptom-free. Whatever it takes, that's his mission, is to get you symptom-free. A doctor's there so you don't die. If you're satisfied with not dying, if that's good enough for you, have at it. But if you want to thrive, you've got to understand how breakdown occurs, how pathology occurs. So what are stones? Let's take gallstones, for example. Okay, but it's true about any stone. But let's take gallstones. What are stones? Stones are solid material that are showing up in a part of the body that's ordinarily fluid. Okay? So gallstones are showing up in the bile. Bile is usually a fluid, but the stones form. So there's a relationship between the liquid and the solid. The bile and the stone. Liquid and the solid, right?
Yes.
What would cause a stone, it's true about tear duct stones or kidney stones or bladder stones or any other kind of stones you have. What would cause a solid to form in a liquid? Well,
oversaturation.
That's one of the main things, and that's very important. But what would cause saturation, oversaturation? The milieu of the fluid plays a role on how soluble the solid is. So if I have a cup of water and I put salt in it, the salt will go in, like we've said many times, a little bit goes in, a little bit goes in, a little bit goes in. And then all of a sudden, you put one grain of salt or one small amount of salt, the whole thing precipitates. It becomes, as AJ said, super saturated. But that super saturation will be more or less likely to occur depending on the pH of the water, the heat of the water, the other solids that are in the water. In other words, the milieu of the water is going to play a role in how fast the salt supersaturates. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So what is the milieu in terms of the bile or in terms of the fluid system? The pH is the most important. Also, the acid level, the oxygen level, the other factors that are in the blood. But the most important, probably the closest in relevance, is going to be the acidity of the bile or the fluid level. What I'm saying is it's the environment that the stones are forming in that is playing the role in whether the stones form or not. If you go to the doctor, they're going to target the stones. And for good reason, because they can be miserably painful. But if you want to prevent the stones, you have to manipulate the environment the stones are in. And this is a fundamental truth in alternative medicine that orthodox medicine doesn't recognize. And this is a great battle in the world between alternative and orthodox medicine, between the terrain and the particle. In other words, the terrain is the environment, and the particle is what forms in the environment. Doctors are always focusing on the particle. We as alternative practitioners have strength over the terrain. In terms of bile, it means changing the way bile, the liquid nature of bile, changing the way the bacteria in the intestine interact with the bile, changing the thickness of the bile by controlling the kinds of foods that you're eating. So this is where we have control. Doctors can't do anything about stones. They can, surgically repair, remove the gallbladder, or they can shoot sound waves at the stones, but they can't change the terrain. The terrain is a function of our lifestyle. And so we want to work on our lifestyle. That's what the whole mission is here. The whole game is to work on the terrain by manipulating your lifestyle. Even something as simple as breathing oxygen can help liquefy the fluid portion of the body, particularly the blood, not necessarily the bile, but particularly the blood. If you have a bile problem, you want to treat it as a food problem. Everywhere you can go, or every symptom you can name, figure out how it associates with the triangle of disease. Everyone. And, when I start doing my talks, I always say there's one thing you need if you want to play this game of correcting health challenges or maintaining your health. There's only one thing you need. Or no, there's only one thing you need at first. You got to do other things too, but there's one thing you need at first. What's the first thing you need? It's not beyond Tangerine. What's the first thing you need?
Awareness?
Close. Belief. Belief. You gotta believe. You gotta believe it's true. What I'm saying, yeah, there's people nodding their heads. Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. But when push comes to shove, when you have a gallstone or a kidney stone or a heart blockage, do you believe that it's a triangle of disease? Do you believe that the body's a homeostatic system that can adjust itself? Do you believe that you or me, whoever is incurring the problem, is responsible?
I believe.
Okay, there you go. It's about belief.
No, but I'm with you 150%.
It's about belief.
And Pharmacist Ben, I'm asking the question, but I have notes of you mentioning that people need to liquefy the blood by drinking water when they first wake up. You've mentioned using the Mighty 90 to help the pH. You've mentioned using your ultimate enzymes. So you've mentioned a number of things that we can do, but I am asking because I want the people to hear you say
Yes, I got that. And I know you know this stuff. And AJ, props to you. I've never met anybody in longevity who's a layperson who knows as much as you and learns as much as you. And I really
hear that, Phyllis and Albert, and you hear that?
Nobody. Everybody else. I'm not knock on everybody else. I'm not knocking anybody else.
I do.
AJ, you are a rock star. For a layperson, I mean, AJ's ability to absorb information, retain information, understand everything I'm saying, A1. Nobody.
Yeah, he's amazing. Definitely.
Really amazing. Really amazing. I'm proud to be associated with you, AJ. Honestly, that's honestly.
I'm honored to be associated with all of you.
Okay. All right.
And you.
And I love everybody else too. That's no knock, but special props to AJ.
Yes,
okay,
of course.
Go ahead.
All right. So Mary is bringing in some questions from YouTube, I believe. So Mary?
That's correct. Can you hear me?
I hear you. Hi, Mary.
Perfect. Hey. A couple of questions from YouTube. Now,
yes,
I'm going to do one from Cindy, but I'm going to preface it that we do have the triangleofdisease.com. So there's additional information on there. But Cindy has asked the question. She's looking for an explanation, like you're talking to a first-year junior high student.
Okay.
And she wants to have an explanation of the triangle as we continue to talk about. So she wants to know what is the triangle.
Okay, fair enough.
Fair enough. Diary. So she's trying to get it in a simple form.
I got it. So I have to say, I am guilty of talking about things like everybody knows. That's because we talk about them all the time, but I'm guilty of not recognizing there's new people who may not have heard these ideas. Mea culpa on that. I'm also guilty of not taking advantage of the idea that repetition is reinforcement. And the more you repeat something, the more you reinforce it. And that's always valuable. So mea culpa on that. So let's talk about the triangle of disease. Okay. Many years ago, almost 20 now, even longer, I noticed that when people had health challenges, the people come to me with health challenges, that there were these basic things that everything that happened on that they all had. They all had these basic ideas. And the more I started to explore, the more I saw that they were all interconnected. Almost everybody, not almost everybody who had a chronic degenerative condition, and we should probably digress there real quickly, because chronic degenerative diseases are the bulk of our health problems, as opposed to getting hit by a car or having a major infection. Those are not chronic and degenerative. Chronic means long-term. Degenerative means you degenerate, you don't repair. The repair system that we're always talking about doesn't happen. Instead of regenerating, you degenerate. And I noticed that people who had these chronic degenerative conditions, which is the vast majority of our health challenges, they always had digestive problems. And then I noticed they always had blood sugar issues. And then I noticed they always had cortisol issues. And then I noticed they also had hypothyroidism. And the more I saw, the more I looked, and the more I explored, I saw that there was a sequential link. One led to the other, led to the other. And at the top of the sequence, if you will, which is 3 points, that's why I call it the triangle, the top of the sequence, you fed back to the first 2 points of the triangle. So everybody had digestive issues, everybody had blood sugar issues, everybody had adrenal thyroid issues. And from the adrenal thyroid issues, you get more blood sugar, more digestive issues and more metabolic issues, which lead to more adrenal thyroid issues, and you get this downward spiral. And I noticed this, and the more I started to explore, I saw how logical it was. When we're born, from the vast majority of us, we are not treated effectively or appropriately from a digestive system perspective. This starts at birth for many people, because 30% of people come cesarean section, and that deprives them of the bacteria that they're supposed to get as they pass through the mother's birth canal and out through a vaginal birth. When a baby's born, as many moms know out there, vaginally, they're coated with bacteria. Those bacteria go into the baby's mouth and into the baby's nose, and they implant in the baby's digestive tract. And from that point forward, they help the baby process food. Right off the bat don't get that. 30% of babies right off the bat don't get that, and probably more when we're talking about people our age. I'm 66, so people our age probably even more, right? So we're dealing with millions of people who right from the get-go, right from the day they're born, begin digestive system issues. And we see this with colic, with rashes, with baby heartburn, with bowel problems and gases and bloating and discomfort in babies. We see it all the time. Now, if you're not breastfed, that's even worse, because now you're not getting the basic building blocks for the intestine. Now, and to feed the bacteria, now you're depending on formula, which is especially problematic for the digestive system. So right from the get-go, 30, 40, 50, maybe more % of babies are compromised at the level of the digestive system. Then you throw in the baby food and the popsicles and the apple juice and the distorted food supply, foods in the food supply, the oils. You know, formula is largely made up of processed oils, seed oils. So you've got this situation where the digestive tract is completely whacked out for most kids by the time they're 2 or 3 years old, unless the parent really knows what they're doing, which is rare. But for most of us, our parents didn't know what they were doing. So now you've got a situation where by the time the kid is 2 or 3 or 4 years old, his digestive system is whacked out. This, of course, leads to blood problems, because we know that toxins get into the bloodstream. This causes a condition of systemic inflammation. The body becomes inflamed. That systemic inflammation makes it difficult for the body to respond to sugar and to insulin appropriately. Inflammation disturbs insulin, the work of insulin. Mm-hmm. Elevated blood sugar compounds the problem. Look what kids are eating. Look at all the sugary foods kids are eating. So now you got a kid, he's 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, and he's already got digestive distress, digestive disturbances. It's tumbled into disturbed blood. I call it dirty blood, which leads to inflammatory problems, which leads to insulin insulin signaling problems. Cells don't listen to insulin in the presence of all these inflammatory factors. You're pounding the system with sugar, putting more load on the insulin system. This completely whacks out the metabolic process. Metabolic means the way we get energy. So now you got a kid, he's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, and he's already starting to show up with juvenile diabetes and autoimmune problems and chronic fatigue and skin problems and all the things our kids are suffering from, obesity, childhood obesity. And because we're not seeing these 2 points on the triangle disease, we don't know what to do. We go to the doctor, they give him drugs, they tell him to exercise more, they give him all the standard medical kinds of shibboleths and jargon and slogans that they're supposed to do. And nobody is participating, nobody's helping the kid at the first 2 points where the system's breaking down. From that point, the body, because it's not handling energy correctly, has to depend on stress hormone. Stress hormone is like an emergency source of energy. Now, the body's not able to handle energy correctly. You're going to low blood sugar, high blood sugar, cells aren't getting nutriated. And by the way, when cells stop listening to insulin, not only does this impact how sugar is handled, but insulin is important for how nutrients get into cells. So now the cell's not getting the vitamins, it's not getting the minerals, it's not getting the fatty acids that it needs. You can see how this is all tumbling out of control, and it all starts with the digestive system. And so now you've got a kid he doesn't have the energy that he needs, so he's going to start to depend on adrenal energy, cortisol energy, which is for emergencies, it's fine, but it's not fine for chronic, as a chronic source of energy or a chronic way to get energy. And eventually, in response to the hypercortisol, which is in response to the to the insulin resistance, and which is in response to the elevated blood sugar and insulin resistance, which is in response to the poor food choices and the digestive problems and the dysbiosis and the formula. Now, the body will the thyroid will slow down to kind of compensate for the speeding up of the biochemical processes under the control of cortisol. So now you got hypothyroidism, which leads, as I said earlier, to more digestive problems because the thyroid regulates the digestive system, which leads to more metabolic problems because the thyroid regulates the metabolic system, which leads to more cortisol problems, which further suppresses chemistry and leads to more hypothyroidism. And that's where most people are. I call that the triangle of disease. Now, to simplify, we don't even need to talk about the adrenal thyroid issue. Just to simplify, work on blood sugar, and that includes insulin, work on food and digestion. It's as simple as that. And there's nothing your doctor can do about it. And you don't need to go to a doctor to be tested, and you don't need allergy testing and blood sugar testing and thyroid testing. Just work on the food component and then work on the blood sugar and insulin component. And interestingly, they're all food. Blood sugar and insulin is also food. So it's really all food. And when you think about it, our food supply, which has remained relatively stable for thousands and thousands of years, and if you want to go back far enough, for millions of years, in a body that has not evolved for 2 million years, has completely changed over, has completely turned over in the last 100 years or 130 years. So if all of human evolution was a 24-hour clock, at 1 second to midnight, we completely changed the food supply. And we changed the food supply not only to make the food less valuable nutritionally, but to make it more palatable so that it's irresistible. So now you've got this combination of hyper palatable food that is also nutritionally deficient. Hello? Of course you're going to have a problem. Of course you're going to have an epidemic of chronic degenerative diseases. And it's not medical. Medicine should be reserved for emergencies. If you're going to a doctor because you have high blood sugar, you drank the Kool-Aid. You're barking up the wrong tree. There's it's not their business. They'll take it because that's how first of all, they make money off of it, but second of all, that's how they're trained. But it's not their job. If you have a digestive problem and you go to a GI guy, it's not their job. It's our job. And that's why taking responsibility becomes so important. But you're not going to take responsibility unless you do the number one thing, which is believe. And that's the triangle of disease: digestion, blood sugar, the adrenal thyroid complex, or the they call it the adrenal or the HPA thyroid axis, they call it, but don't even worry about that. Digestive system, blood sugar system, and that includes insulin. Simple as that. Okay.
Fantastic. I'd want to do just one add to that and ask, when you talk about us eating sugar, there's multiple types of sugar. There's simple sugar with fruits.
No, there's not. There's not multiple types of sugar that the body uses.
Okay.
There's glucose and there's fructose.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
Okay.
Fructose is handled a little bit differently. Fructose is mostly handled by the liver.
Right.
So glucose is the real issue. And to your
Exactly.
point about multiple sugars, it's not really multiple sugars. It's multiple foods that contain them.
Absolutely.
And today we have engineered foods to be super glucose rich, because glucose hits the body's hot buttons, the brain's hot buttons. So we can't resist them. And we'll subsist. Rats will hit the button until they die in order to get a glucose hit. And we do the same thing, although not as literally, but they put rats in these machines, where they hit the little switch to get a hit of glucose. They'll do it until they die. It's more addictive than heroin. So yes, it's a big problem. And here's where it gets even sneakier. The high glucose foods are spiked with excitotoxins that keep you eating. They're non-sugar, they're chemicals that hit your brain and make you addicted to the foods, which is why we can't stop eating the foods. And it's not just high sugar foods, it's also high calorie foods.
Mm-hmm.
Between high sugar foods and high calorie foods and excitotoxins, foods have been engineered to make them irresistible. It's not necessarily our fault. We're being manipulated. It's our fault in the sense that we can do something about it. Only we can do something about it. But it's not our fault in the sense that if we don't know, we're being manipulated against our will, or against our, or in a surreptitious, sneaky kind of way. And then another thing is, when we think of sugar, obviously cake and pie and candy, that's sugar, dessert kind of foods. But pasta is sugar. Beans are sugar. Potatoes are sugar. Rice is sugar. Any starchy foods will break down into sugar. Burritos are sugar. Pizza's sugar. So there's sugar in hidden places. You may think, oh, I don't like sweets, I don't eat a lot of desserts. But if you're eating bagels, that's sugar. You're eating, pizza, that's sugar. If you're eating bread, that's sugar. And I'm not saying zero tolerance. And it's a couple things. First of all, I'm not saying zero tolerance. You got to have some sugar, and it's not the end of the world to eat sugar. Your body can adjust. So don't go into zero tolerance. But most importantly, don't go into guilt. Don't go into this idea, I'm a bad person, I have no willpower, punishing yourself, or guilting your friends, your neighbors, your family, or your kids, or your husband, or your wife. Nobody wants to hear it. Nobody wants to hear about what they're eating unless they ask you. So you don't want to go into guilt, and you don't want to guilt trip anybody. You want to guilt trip yourself, and you don't want to underestimate the power and the tyranny of the chemistry over our bodies. Believe, number one, don't guilt trip anybody. You don't have to have zero tolerance. You get to control it. The less you eat, the better off you'll be. Every study that's ever been done on longevity shows that the lower your caloric intake, the longer your life. What does a calorie mean? What does the word calorie mean? Calor, heat, right?
Heat.
What is inflammation? Flame, right in the middle of the word, flame. One of the cardinal signs of inflammation is heat. Calories are by definition inflammatory. There's a phenomenon known as postprandial inflammation. Prandial means eating. Postprandially, our body goes into an inflammatory mode, which actually makes sense when you think about it, because you now put the enemy in the body, so the defense system kicks in. The less you eat, the less the defense system will kick in. If you already got too much defense, too much of a defense system from toxicity, or from malnourishment, or from hypoxia, low blood oxygen, now you put food in, you could throw the inflammatory system over the edge. That's why fasting is so helpful. And that's why it's known as the perfect medicine, is fasting.
Got it.
And again, you have to eat eventually, but the less you eat, the longer you live.
Thank you.
Yes,
Many
ma'am.
questions are here. I'll turn it over to Ruth Ellen to control the process.
Okay, Ruth Ellen, control the process.
Control. Thank you. Did you have
Yeah.
more questions, Mary? I just want to make sure we have a question in the chat here from somebody, and we're running out of time.
Yeah, there's many. So I'll let you manage that.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mary. All right. So Hattie, would you like to unmute yourself, please?
Ashe, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Awesome. Pharmacist Ben,
Yes.
this has been a thorough discussion. It's been awesome. I
Okay.
have my niece on that. She couldn't connect to the form, but I have her on my other line and she wants to.
Is she listening?
She is listening.
Okay, good.
And her doctor recently told her that she had to go on dialysis immediately. And I explained to her that that's not necessarily the case, but I wanted her to talk to you.
Okay, so yeah, let's talk about dialysis. Kidney disease is an epidemic.
Sure. Are you hearing me?
And the main reason.
What are you saying?
Okay, he's getting ready to talk to you about
So kidney disease is an epidemic. It should always be regarded as a blood sugar issue. Now, you can have kidney disease when you have lead poisoning, for example, or other toxicities, because the kidneys are made up of very, very, I say tiny, but that doesn't even, that doesn't even express it, microscopically invisible vessels that you can't see with your eye, much thinner than a human hair. And these blood vessels function as filters for the blood. The blood goes through and certain things come out, like, for example, minerals come out and other things go through. The kidney is the filter, and you have two of them for good reason, because you need redundancy. And in fact, the many miles of blood vessels, invisible blood vessels in the kidneys, are themselves redundant to the point where you could have 70% of your kidneys dysfunctional and you won't even know it. There's so much redundancy in there. So by the time you need dialysis, you're at like 90% or 85%. The kidney's not working. There's a lot of damage there. So at this point, it's very likely you do need dialysis. But immediately, if you don't want to be sitting in a dialysis chair for 4 hours every couple of days or however long you're going to be there, immediately get your blood sugar under control. Immediately, today. And when I say get your blood sugar under control, I mean from two directions. Number one, what you're eating, obviously, but number two, how the supplements you're using to address the sugar that's in there. So get on the blood sugar pack, get on the mineral toddy or the cherry mints or the Beyond Tangy Tangerine, which is part of the blood sugar pack, the ultimate niacin, the FucoidZ, OsteoMag, anything you could do to support blood sugar control and insulin resistance. And there's a ton of nutritional supplements you could use. So couple things to sum that up. Number one, you treat it like a blood sugar problem. And Hattie, your friend or your cousin or whoever this person is, knows good and well they got blood sugar problems and they've got other signs of metabolic syndrome. Guaranteed. Not because I'm psychic, because I'm telling you how the system works. Hattie, ask her. Weight issues, heart issues, vascular issues, high blood pressure, digestive issues, bile issues, reproductive issues. Hattie, ask her.
Chris, are you here?
High blood pressure.
High blood pressure.
Oh, surprise.
She has gut hernia.
You guys, what's your friend's name or your cousin? What is she?
She's my niece, Crystal.
Crystal, did you hear what I said? It's a syndrome. It's all together. You can't just focus on the kidneys unless you're a doctor. Then you'll focus on the kidneys. You got to focus on everything that leads to the kidney. It's the root, not the fruit. You got to get to the soil. And that's going to be in the blood sugar system primarily, but also the digestive system. And Hattie can help you. We can all help you. Do everything you need to do to stabilize your blood sugar, patch up your gut. And there's a zillion strategies for that. And believe this can be done. I don't know how old you are, ma'am, Crystal, but this can be done. The older you are, the harder it is, obviously, but it's no matter what, it can be done. The body can turn on a dime. Don't let anybody tell you that you're doomed. That's the worst thing, is when the physicians tell you, oh, you got to do this or else you're going to die, because we believe them. You can reverse this. You may need the dialysis right now. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. So I can't answer, but I can tell you that that this is something that you can control, but you got to focus on the soil, the root, not the fruit. Does that help, Hattie?
Yes, sir. Thank you so very much.
Okay.
Thank you, Hattie.
Thank you too.
Thank you, Hattie, and we're grateful for you. Okay, and then we have another person on YouTube who has a client that has cysts in her breast.
Okay,
What?
cysts. Let's talk about cysts in the breast.
Okay, but
Okay.
she wants to know what you would give her besides the 90 and extra E and selenium. So she's on the 90.
That's plenty. The problem is not, I mean, you need the
Mhm.
90, and you need the ultimate EFAs. I'd probably throw in the FucoidZ. I'd probably throw in the ultimate selenium. I don't know if they're part of the pack. These are all ways that you can help your body process estrogen. Usually when you, and the reason for cysts are insulin and estrogen. Those are the two main culprits in the growth of cysts, insulin and estrogen, and they're related. So work on your blood sugar, the whole thing with metabolic syndrome. Cysts are part of the metabolic syndrome constellation of symptoms. So more than likely this person is dealing with metabolic syndrome. Treat yourself. Use all the blood sugar strategies. I don't care if they diagnose you as a diabetic or not. Treat yourself like a diabetic. Then there's the estrogen component. Estrogen is broken down in the intestine, and it also involves estrogen processing. Also involves the liver and the gallbladder. All digestive structures. Work on the digestive system, and stay away from the bad fats, the processed fats, the seed oils, the distorted, cooking your fats, distorting the fats. The breasts are fatty tissue. Cysts represent an imbalance in how fat, or an imbalance in fats, and a disturbance in how fats are processed. Treat yourself like a diabetic. Use all the healthy blood sugar pack, etc. Use all the digestive support strategies that we talk about on the program, and stay away from problem foods that are problems for you, as well as general problem foods like the seed oils and the processed oils. And that's how you deal with cysts. Now, I don't know how old this person is. I don't know what other problems she has. So I'm giving you just general ideas here. I'd have to talk to this person to get some more specifics to really hone in on a protocol. But generally speaking, you want to treat it as an insulin issue and an estrogen issue.
Okay, thank you. All right, we have 4 minutes. Do you have time for one more question?
Yeah, let's do one.
Marilyn? Oops, I accidentally muted you. I was meant to spotlight you. So we only have a couple minutes, Marilyn, okay?
Fantastic. I just want to say this is what we're up against. I have a client who's been taking supplements for years. Very smart individual, math teacher, pre-calculus till she was like 67. She taught it. Anyway, she says to me, Kevin Reese, he's a longevity distributor. She just says, he uses longevity products in his membership and publishes all of his clients' results, which I read every day. She says, I have never seen or heard anyone say that their diabetes or addictions were reversed or that they dropped a significant amount of weight. Okay, then she goes on to say, I've spent thousands of dollars on top quality supplements throughout my life, yet I still developed hypothyroidism, pollen allergies.
Okay, hang on. What is the purpose of this litany? Because this you're saying this is smart, but she doesn't sound very smart. She may know math. I don't know who this person is. She might know math. But I don't debate those kinds of things.
Right.
I don't
that's
talk
why I'm bringing this up to you. Is how would you?
I don't. Marilyn,
like
I don't. I say goodbye. I say go to your doctor. You're not here for us. Go to your doctor because your doctor obviously can help you. Whatever. I don't argue. You don't argue with people.
Okay.
Unless she comes to me and says, look, I'm sorry, I don't really understand this. But if she says, I'm really smart and I know how to supplement and I taught math and I know calculus, fine. We're not talking to her. We're talking to people who want answers from us. I don't ever argue with people. I don't ever debate people. Everybody has it fine. There's plenty of people who need us. She doesn't need us. God love her. Jesus loves everybody. The sun shines on everything.
It's like you said, belief has to be first.
You got to believe first. I'm not interested in debating anybody. So if you want to come to me in a debating posture, well, I shouldn't say that. I'll debate anybody. But when it comes to helping them, I'm not interested in having them argue with me when I'm trying to help them. I don't care. So you come, if you're interested, I'm happy to help. There's nobody I'll ever turn down. But when you say somebody, I'm really smart because I've been supplementing a long time. And to say the ludicrousness of saying I've never seen anybody lose weight, that's just mind numbing to me. And I don't even want to go there.
It was to me too, and that's why
okay.
I've had to.
Yeah, so
express it.
fine. There's plenty of doctors. There's tons of doctors. She doesn't need us.
Okay.
Thank you,
Go
Marilyn.
and go and
Are there-
sin no more.
Are there publications though, a lot that proving that?
I don't
these
know.
results are-
No, I'm not interested in proving anything. I'm not
Okay.
interested. Listen, people, I'm not interested in proving anything. If you want to, and that's why I go to great pains to show you the mechanism. I don't ever say do this, do that. Do you ever hear me say just take this, take that? I'm always telling you how it happens. So for smart people, whether this person is smart or not, I don't know. But for smart people, they'll see the mechanism. They'll see how blood sugar, how elevated insulin or hyperinsulinemia, if you will, how it affects weight, how it affects cell chemistry, how it affects cell nutrition, how it affects the inflammatory process. It's just logical. It's sequential, and it happens as a syndrome where one thing leads to a bunch of problems. She doesn't believe it. I don't care. That's her business. Everybody gets entitled to do what they do. I'll say it again because I love this image, and then I have to go.
Yes.
Bugs Bunny walking the little old lady across the street, and she doesn't want to be walked across the street. So she's hitting him on the head with her umbrella while he's walking her across the street. She doesn't want his help. You don't help people who don't want to be helped. That's just a rule. There's an old saying, you can't teach an animal to sing. You're just going to piss off the animal and it's not going to work. So you don't go get in there. Don't want our help. That's fine. AJ, real quick. Oh, I got Marilyn on the call here. Marilyn, give us a couple minutes. We're just finishing a call. Okay. Thank you.
That's Marianne. And then, so just a quick thing, like you said, Pharmacist Ben.
Don't fix the fruit, fix the root.
Love it. Love it. Hey, Rod.
Thank
we
you,
were just
AJ.
talking about you. AJ and I were just talking about you this morning.
Yeah, we were talking about it. Yeah, you were talking about the fact that you got married, Rod. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Rod. That's awesome. All right, you guys, I got a bowl.
All right.
God
Thank you,
love you.
Ben.
All
Have a
right.
great day.
Bye.
Bye. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Another powerful episode of Pharmacist Friday with Ben Fuchs on Daily with Doc and Becca. If somebody referred you to this program, please get back with them because they will be your lead person in helping you do what Ben said to do, or any questions that you have, please do that. Also, if you have questions and would like to speak to a health coach, you can do two things. You can call 855-949-3377, and you will be able to contact a health coach that way on phone, or questions at dailywithdocandbecca.com. Or no, yeah, questions at dailywithdocandbecca.com. No, that's not it. I'm sorry.
DailyWithDoc.com.
Daily with Doc. Yeah, no, never mind. The email is questions@dailywithdoc. All right. Boy, I feel like an idiot right now. Okay. I gotta make fun of myself. I feel silly. All right. So anyway, so we have Marilyn, who is Speedy Fingers and helps do the dictation. And she types as fast as people can talk, pretty much. And then she even looks things up and posts them in there. I don't know how you do it. I say that every day, but thank you so much. And then we have Mary, who is helping bring questions in from the different platforms and helping out on the Zoom as well. So thank you so much, Mary. And then we have Albert, who is the gatekeeper, and he lets people in, and he also answers the phone in the middle of the night when the rest of us are sleeping. So if you call in the middle of the night, you're probably going to get Albert. Also, we have Phyllis, who is out on the different platforms, a lot of platforms, and posting and bringing questions in. And she also helps fill in. She posts some things that Phyllis does. I mean, Marilyn, I'm rushing. that Marilyn doesn't post. So when Marilyn is asking a question or something, Phyllis is filling in. And then we have Rod, who is also out on the different platforms and bringing in questions and commenting. So thank you for all that you do, Rod. And then, of course, we have AJ, who is the digital marketing director, and he has helped us get out onto all those platforms, and he helps set things up, and he does a lot of things that just, there's too many to count. Yes.
You guys say that a lot, but there were tons of platforms before I got here.
This is true.
So,
But still, you helped us get on more platforms. You're right. We were on a lot. So anyway, I'm Ruth Ellen Sanchez. I'm the executive production manager for Daily with Doc and Becca. And I just do whatever that entails, whatever it means, however long it takes, in the middle of the night, whatever it is. So, and Rebecca, shout out to you because you helped make all of this possible. All right. I think I covered it all. This program is for educational purposes only, not meant to treat, diagnose, or cure any diseases. I just need to say that. And be kind, because you don't know what somebody's going through. And you want to make sure just to put out kindness, because the world is going through some major stuff right now. And I can't say enough about it. And I did put in the YouTube chat for somebody to email questions@dailywithdoc.com and put my name in the question in the subject line, because I can help you with that particular situation. All right. Thank you again, everybody. Have a beautiful day and have a great weekend. And we will see you next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.
This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences of the individual. Results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We are honored to continue to share the teachings of a founding father of the science of epigenetics, Dr. Joel Wallach, Bachelor of Science in Plant and Soil Sciences, Doctor of Veterinary Medicine, 4 postdoctorates in pathology, naturopathic doctor. This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences of the individual. Results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We are honored to continue to share the teachings of a founding father of the science of epigenetics, Dr. Joel Wallach, Bachelor of Science in Plant and Soil Sciences, Doctor of Veterinary Medicine, 4 postdoctorates in pathology, naturopathic doctor.